Hey everybody, this is Justin David Lovato with IAMBUILT, and you guys are listening to My Two Cents. What's up everybody? I'm excited to be here. A little nervous, I'm not going to lie. It's kind of weird just talking on a microphone to myself. I know most of you guys know me from Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that, social media shit. But those of you who do not know who I am, I'm just a trainer. I'm just a trainer out here in Venice, California. Started my business about 4 years ago. It's called Built Nutrition and Training, and my wife joined forces with me a couple years back, and she did the whole online thing, kicking butt at that, and we have been using Instagram and Facebook to advertise and promote our brand, IAMBUILT. I basically want to get into this podcast stuff because it's an easier way to talk with you guys. I always have a lot of interesting posts, always a lot on my mind, but basically the reason why I want this podcast, and I'm going to use this podcast, is to inspire you guys, make you guys laugh, make you guys think outside the box. I want to be able to answer questions. I want to be able to research questions that you guys give me and be honest with you and laugh with you. And like I said, it's just about inspiration and making you guys think positive about every single day that you live. And that's really important to me. And you can see it in my Instagram post if you choose to follow. But I just wanted to use this main podcast as this first one. I want to make this first podcast kind of an introduction, give you guys some background on who I am, besides just being a trainer, like where I'm from, where the hell I was born, how I was raised, how I made it out here. I know you guys have lots of questions when it comes to fitness and nutrition, but I want to get into some cooler stuff too. We'll answer everything under the sun when it comes to fitness and nutrition, I promise. But I want to get into cooler stuff, like love and relationships and politics, and not so much to debate, but to enlighten and just make things more simple. To simplify, I like to say a lot. Let's start with who I am. Originally I'm from upstate New York. And, man, I lived out there till I was 25 years old. It was a small town, kind of a country. I guess you can call it the country. Upstate New York, we're about 30 minutes outside of any city. 5 hours from New York City. I had a pretty normal childhood for the most part. I had a great group of friends. Got into the fitness industry, bodybuilding, if you will, around 14 years old. Now, I never, ever thought about competing at that age. I just started playing around with weights. In fact, the first time I actually stumbled upon some weights was in my buddy's basement. His mom had this old weight set. They were like sand and plastic type of weights. It was just awful. But we had so much fun. I was down there just pumping up my arms one day. Never done it before. And he made such a big deal about the pump I got in my arms. He even got his mom and had her come down and take a look, and she pretended to care and stuff like that. And I was kind of hooked. So from that day forward, I was going to the YMCA. I was training every day. I was really, really loving the feeling of just working out. And that's all I did it for, was just working out and feeling strong. And it was such a great place for me to go that was my own, It's something that still feels the same today as it did 14 years ago. Or, no, 18 years ago. Man, I'm getting old. For me, I continued this bodybuilding thing until I was 19. I was big quick. By the time I was 15, I was 185 pounds. And then by the time I hit 19 years old, I was already up around 235 pounds. And then everyone kept telling me I should compete. So then eventually I was like, all right, I'll try to compete. And I got into it, and I really enjoyed it. And I competed from 19 until I was about 28 when I decided that it was no longer for me, and I pulled out and stuff like that. Around 25 years old, though, that's when I made the move to California, and it was for bodybuilding at the time. That's all I thought about. At that time, I wanted to be a top pro in the industry. So you had to go where the top pros were. So I moved my way out here to California and started training, did my first few shows. It was great. And then around 28 years old, I realized, it just wasn't for me. It's something that I really didn't enjoy much anymore as far as getting on stage. I want to get back to the roots of having fun and training in the gym, and also really focus on being healthy as a bodybuilder as well. That was also really important to me. At the time, though, when I first moved here, I was working at this crazy at first when I first moved, I worked 3 different jobs. I was a bouncer, I was an auditor for a valet company, and a personal trainer at North Hollywood Gold. And I was doing 3 different jobs while competing over that course of the first 4 years I was here, and it was just crazy. And I wound up working full-time at the valet job, actually. I looked over a couple of different locations, just sat in an office all day and managed. And it was probably a perfect job for bodybuilding. But, man, being in working in Beverly Hills was something I've never experienced before. And it wasn't a good experience. It was pretty strange. The people there, it became a point where I couldn't stand people. And then I realized that I was driving 2 hours a day, and in traffic and 2 hours a day in traffic on the way home. I put it all together, and I really wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And even though it was great money, it didn't make much sense to me. And I get this question a lot is, how did I end up doing what I'm doing? And it's making these small steps, or a lot of times they end up being humongous steps. Even though I had this guaranteed job, it was a cake job too. I just sat at a desk all day. I wasn't happy. I didn't like the people that were around me. And time again, people were saying I should get back into personal training out here because I could do really well. And I decided to go for it. And at that time, it was scary because, nothing was guaranteed. But I knew I didn't want to be in a place where I was unhappy and I wasn't enjoying myself every single second of my life. So I made this huge adjustment, this big change, took this huge chance and quit this job that was guaranteed. And I took on 2 clients here at Venice Golds. And that's how I started becoming a personal trainer full time. And because I was now in an atmosphere of continued happiness, of excitement, of doing something that I wanted to do, let alone, the fact that I was my own boss and I wrote my own hours was something unbelievably fulfilling. I was in control for the first time, it felt like, when it came to myself as a man. It really did. I wasn't working for anybody else. That this type of energy that I was holding, this type of energy that I walked around with was intoxicating to where, the first few months in here, I was doing 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 clients a day. And it was something that I could never even conceive before. Looking back on it now, it makes perfect sense. The change in my attitude, how I wanted to be at work. It was no longer even work. It was just life every day. I'm sure people felt that and wanted to be around me and wanted to train with me. And that was actually one of the things that fellow bodybuilders always said. They always said, you're one of the few guys that when you compete, you don't change. Your personality doesn't change. You're always happy. And that's because I enjoy what I do. It was just really exciting to also work for myself. That's really gratifying in itself. Being in the atmosphere, you're going to come across a lot of like-minded people, like my wife. And at the time, I had no idea who Steph was. This is about, I would have to say, 2.5 years into running my own business as an independent trainer. And that's the first time I saw Steph. She was actually visiting Gold's. I had no idea who she was. She's a Canadian, by the way. And she was just on, I think, her own little mini vacation. At the time, she was prepping and getting ready for provincials up in Canada. So she was like freaky good shape, freaky good shape, intimidating as hell. She was so hot, I was intimidated. She was almost like, scary. So I didn't go up to her, didn't even bother, looking in her direction. I also felt bad, though, because I think every guy was going up and asking her out. So I waited a solid 6 weeks before I ever made a pretend move. And I'll tell you about that. I was actually waiting for my next client who was happened to be late, and I saw Steph come around the corner, and she was like completely drenched and sweaty and gross, and she sat herself down on a community bench, and I just wanted to go over and say what's up, but I didn't, so I went over and pretended to be on my phone and hoping we would somehow make some type of eye contact to where we could start a conversation. I was lucky enough that it did. And at the time, I think Instagram was just on the rise, so none of us really used it. So we actually used Facebook to chat back and forth due to the fact that she was international. We didn't want to use our phones. I wouldn't say I'm impatient or aggressive. Passive-aggressive is probably the better term, as I hit her up that night and asked her out for lunch the next day, because that's kind of how I've always been. If I see something, and I just go for it, because what's the worst that can happen, right? They say no, it's cool. So I asked her out. She said yes, very, very lucky. And then I wound up taking her out to dinner that night again. I asked her out again the following night. And then we just kept hanging out every single day after that. And our relationship's really unique because me and Steph, we've been asked before we ever got married, actually, we were asked if we believed in marriage or what were our thoughts on marriage, and both of us said, no, it's a no-go. And not saying our thoughts haven't changed, but they're a little more thought out now in our response when people ask us. But yeah, it was a no-go. There's no need to. And this is kind of ironic because 6 weeks later, we got married. So it didn't quite make much sense until I explained it to you. What's funny was I enjoyed hanging out with Steph so much, and I knew her time was limited here due to the fact that she could only stay for so long. I said that to her. I was like, why don't we just get married so we can continue to hang out? And the way I proposed it, it wasn't weird. It wasn't like, I want to marry you to keep you forever and ever. It was, I want to marry you because there's this weird system that doesn't allow us to hang out every day. And I just want to hang out with you every day. And she saw that as exactly I did. And so we got married. We got married so we can hang out every single day, because there's this weird system that says because she's foreign, she's not allowed to hang out here for more than a few months. So yeah, and since we don't carry the same values, like, 6 weeks prior, we didn't believe in the idea of marriage. Signing a piece of paper just to hang out with each other was as easy as that, was signing a piece of paper, because there wasn't much thought. If it didn't work out, it was okay, because we were just doing it to hang out. And what's funny is that's transitioned to how we are every day. From there on forward, we really do just live in the moment. Everything is up to date today. It's fantastic, because we get asked about our relationship a lot, and a lot of people always go, how do you know when they're the one, or I can't wait to find the one. And the truth is, you don't find the one. All you do is live in the moment today, and you fill it with people that you love being around, and that you want to inspire, and you want to uplift, and you want to make better. If you do that, it's pretty remarkable of who you can fill your life with. And Steph just happened to be one of those people I could fill my life with, because I wanted to be around her. I loved making her laugh. I loved making her happy. It wasn't my job, but I loved to do it. And she gave me that in return. And it's been that type of relationship ever since. It's pretty amazing when you remove all the pressure that's not even real that everybody puts on a marriage. There's a lot of things that are manifested in our brains that create all this pressure, I would like to touch base on marriage and society a little bit, because it's honestly the reason why I think me and my wife are as successful in our relationship, and it's why we are extremely happy and very free as well. She can be herself and I can be myself, because the way we view this. Yeah, so see, most people, when they view marriage, or when they go through the concept of marriage, they go through the whole event, getting married, the whole entire event, and they do the whole ceremony, and they make the promises to each other, exchange the rings, and sign these documents, and they swear before a priest, a judge, a God, and all that kind of good stuff. Because me and my wife don't believe in a lot of the same things other people do, it removed a lot of the pressure I think a lot of people have when it comes to marriage. We didn't make any of these promises to each other when I married her. To me, that doesn't make any sense to make all these I call ridiculous promises to one another on a day for no particular reason. I know a lot of you don't view it that way, but if you really try to think about giving someone a ring and then making these promises like you're going to love them forever and be with them for everything and through everything, can't actually make those promises, and it's irresponsible. And I realized this at a young age, and Steph realized this at a young age, and just being practical, we knew that didn't make any sense. And when you make those promises, you create all these type of pressures, because everybody does change. Everybody grows apart if they do, and some people just want to travel, and some people don't, and they have to split up, or they just don't like each other, and that's okay too. And people forget that that's okay. And if your marriage doesn't work, it's not a failure, and it's not bad, and you're not going to go to this thing called hell. And that's the part that I'm talking about. We don't have those things. If we break up, it's okay, and it's a chapter in our life, and then we're on to the next adventure. And I wish nothing but the best. There is no resentment or entitlement for me to be upset, because she's a different person, I'm a different person, and we're always going to support that. We're always going to support each other and who we are. And that's what I think marriage really should be about. And when you look at it that way and you perform that way, it makes something pretty special. A lot of people also ask about how we got our business going and our model on that. And it's very similar to how we did our relationship. When I first started dating Steph, she felt like she had to get a job. And I understand that. Everyone's got to make money, and we all have to contribute and make a living, especially out here in California. It's very expensive. But I thought I saw it a little differently. I have the luxury of, because I took this chance and left this other job I was not happy with, right? I listened to myself. I did what I needed to do. And I got this other job, and it turned out being great because of the type of energy I had. Then I met this girl from the type of energy I have. And I made a decision because it made sense, because I wanted to be with this person who also shared the type of energy that I love. It also transitioned to what we do for a living. So Steph, She wanted to get a job out here in California, and it didn't make much sense to me because I've created this really cool job where I work a few hours, then I get some hours off. I work a few hours, I get some hours off, and, that's how it worked out. My argument was, don't get a job, because if I come home and you're at work and I have a 3-hour break before my next client, I'm sitting here not with you. And that made no fucking sense to me. It made me so upset, the idea of it. It pissed me off the whole week. I knew she was going to go to this job. And then the day of, I was just horrible. I was just so upset. And I finally told her, I'm like, this does not make sense. I didn't marry you. I didn't marry you to hang out with you every day for you to just go to this job. I'm like, let me just pick up another client. That's way better. Then I could still come home and see you and hang out, and you could do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. It's not like I'm working. I choose this. It's a selfish choice that I don't want you to work, so I get more time with you, because that just makes sense. That's why we're living together. That's why we are together. So we approached it a lot differently, and because we did that, it allowed me to be incredibly happy within my relationship, which then made me even a better trainer and a better person to be around. And then from that, Steph found her true calling, which was training as well, but she did it all online. I mean, that's what she went to school for, was kinesiology and nutrition and biomechanics and stuff like that. So this was just right there in front of us the whole time, and took that, and she's the best that I've ever seen, honestly. All her clients love and adore her, and it's because she truly loves what she's doing. She's not someplace like being around a bunch of people she don't want to be around for hours on end, or being at a desk job. And that's not a bad thing if that's what you enjoy doing, but let's be real, most of us don't want to sit in a cubicle or serve drinks to somebody. So, and I understand sometimes we need to do those things, but you always have to work and take the chances you need to get yourself into a place where you love what you're doing. And if it's outside the norm and it's not what everybody thinks you should do, that's okay. And there's no such thing as failing. If you have to go back to that shitty job because you tried this thing, that's okay. Try it again and try it again. There's no such thing as failing. And that's how we saw everything that we did. That's how I saw my job when I left. That's how I saw my relationship with Steph. That's how I saw her job when she stayed here and decided to work from home. And that's how I even see with most of the things that I do. And I think that's how our business came to flourish. Everybody could see in my post that every day we're happy and positive, and that's because we truly are. And it's because we live the lifestyle we live in. People always ask, how do we attain that? And I'm like, your goal is just to do what makes you happy. And that's what I've been doing since I was a kid. And I understand that it's not as easy for everybody else. And that's why I have this podcast, is to make you guys possibly think outside the box. And I help my wife with it every day. It's funny. Someone a couple weeks ago mentioned, it's like, oh, it must be so cool that you and your wife think a lot alike, or you guys are just like each other to get along so well. And I had to specify and clear up that, what's funny is my wife actually doesn't think like me at all. She's completely the opposite. She likes having money in the bank. I mean, that's great. I do too, but she has to have a game plan for retirement. She has to do this, and this, the bills and all this kind of stuff, and she feels safe and all this kind of stuff. I'm completely different. I don't need any of that, and it's not, I don't know if that's technically irresponsible or responsible, but we are completely different. But what's cool about my wife is that she understands how and the way I'm thinking, and sees that it is a great way of thinking. She doesn't necessarily, she can't roll with it all the time because it's so simplified and so logical, and sometimes you can't just do that. And she can pull me back when needed, but she agrees with the way I think. And I mean, every girl wants to be told that, that she still sometimes gets mad at me. I'd be like, yeah, I can't promise that I'm going to be with you forever. That's ridiculous, and she's just like, yeah, but it'd be nice to hear sometimes. And I'm like, I understand, and I truly think I'm going to be with you forever, but I can't make that promise. It's an irresponsible thing for me, and it seems this way of thinking has helped me get through life, and I just wanted to stress to be happy and to make sure whatever you guys are doing, it's something that you're doing that makes you extremely happy. And if you're not doing it, if you're not doing what makes you happy first, and we all have to do shitty jobs, and we all have to go through things to get there, but be excited as you do it. Be pumped and have a goal and have a game plan. Because if you're working every single day of your life at a job you're not doing, that just doesn't make any sense. I'm having fun talking to you guys about some cool stuff. I just wanted to, touch base again on why I have this podcast, and it's just to inspire you guys. I love talking to you guys on Instagram. I love the feedback I get from you. I love the emails that I get. somebody asked me why I'm doing this, and it's exactly that. It's just I want to see you guys have a good time with me on this. I hope I can make something out of this. I'm excited because next week I already booked my first guest. It's going to be Chris Bell, and if you guys aren't familiar with Chris Bell, he did Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Prescription Thugs is his newest release. And I went and saw it, his premiere. I went and checked it out, and it was unbelievable. It touched so many subjects and topics on problems and issues, and they're scary, and they need to be relevant. And those are some more things I can't wait to get into, especially with him on here, because this guy's great. Also, I'm going to be introducing my buddy Sean, who's going to be pretty much my wingman on here every single time. Most of the time he'll be joining us from Skype, but he's a super smart dude who reads a lot, who can teach me a lot of things, and hopefully, guys, he'll enlighten you as well. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me and ramble on here. This has actually been pretty tough. You guys would laugh how horrible this day has been. I've been trying to lay down this sweet track for you guys and talk about some really cool things, and I hope you guys like it. It's weird just talking to yourself in a microphone. Stay tuned. We're going to try to release one of these a week every Sunday. And any questions that you guys can send my way, please do. Like I said, we'll touch every topic we can. We'll talk about the nutrition. We'll talk about what works when it comes to weight training. We'll nail all that kind of stuff because that to me is very important too. It all comes together in the end. You guys will see that. And I just want to keep it real with you guys. So stay tuned. Much love, much respect from me, and signing out. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.